All right, so basically what we have here is a Garmin GPS 175. It's the latest Garmin. I believe it replaces the 430 series, which Garmin doesn't really service anymore. And what you can see is that it's a touchscreen setup with a instrument that is basically an old ILS indicator. If you look over here, this is now used for the LNAV and VNAV, as well as LPV approaches for the Garmin and to track the course. So this is a current update on the Garmin databases. So you can see it says current through January 30th of 2020, and it gives you obstruction, safe taxi, terrain, etc. So we click continue here, and then we've got our standard half left out of view, half up out of view. So our flags and our course indicator needles on the instrument should match up what this says here. So if we look over here, it does match up there. At that point, we can hit continue. And this is going to be your home screen for the Garmin. You have a old-fashioned Garmin knob here that turns to select different things. You can see there's no GPS position. So this is the map right now at our airport here in Springfield. And it shows that I'm at the tenant hangars off of November and Tango intersection. I can use the big knob to scroll over if I like. Give me nearest, terrain, etc. Then I can go back here and hit the back button, and I can go to map, and I can zoom in with the knob, or I can pinch out. Oops, let me go back here real quick. I can pinch in to get a better idea of where I am, or I can just zoom right in with the knob and see my position on the field. Come back here to load a flight plan. You're just going to go into flight plan. Here's our airport here. So I'm going to load another airport. Let's just say we're going to go to St. Louis. So it would be K. We swipe Sierra, Tango, Lima, and there's St. Louis Lambert International. We hit enter, and it shows my direct route there. Now I can add waypoints, whether they be airports or GPS waypoints, and then I click back. Also, you can see there's a message here. So because we don't have a good signal, this is giving us a message saying that the status is not good. We have a terrain page. If we would like to use that, we can also go to terrain through the knob here, and then I can go back to the map. Procedure. STL. Okay, so if we want to load a procedure, we click on STL, and we load a procedure. And we click on approach, and it comes up with a selection of different approaches that I can scroll through at St. Louis. And I can either use the screen or I can use the knob. I find it easier to use the knob. But let's say we're going to go ahead and do the LPV 30 left Yankee. We select that. And we come to, you can load the approach or you could activate the approach. I'm going to activate the approach, and that way what that's going to do is in my plan, it's actually going to show me my route there, and when I get to St. Louis, it is going to map out exactly where I need to go to start my approach. Out to here. Now I can unsuspend it, and it'll fly that route once I activate the flight plan. And that's just a direct flight plan to St. Louis. You can come back, and you can probably see this message indicator screaming at us. Well, this has a board approach, GPS approach is no longer available. That's because we don't have signal. So it'll even tell you if you lose the signal, to abandon approach, go around, go missed. Since we don't have the Garmin ADS-B system, we don't have the pressure altitude source and the heading source. There's no AHRs in here attached to this GPS, so that's why we get these messages here. Then you've got your nearest feature, obviously. You can select which nearest feature you would like. You got weather frequencies all around. If you want a VOR, well, here's the closest ones along with their frequency. It can give you airspaces if you don't know which ARTCC you should be talking to. It gives you the direction and what frequency you can contact them on. NDBs, I'm not even going to bother with that because no one really uses them anymore. You got flight service station. Columbia Radio is our closest. It'll give you the frequency there as well. Coming back to here, you will see waypoint info. Again, kind of what we already seen. Airport. So it says St. Louis Public Airport. Gives us our runways, procedures available, etc. It'll also give you all the frequencies over at St. Louis. If you don't have your charts out or if you can't find a particular frequency that you're looking for, just by clicking on that button there. Airports and waypoint info. Utilities is more of the system stuff. It'll do a visual calculation for a visual approach for you, descent rates, etc. Fuel planning, true airspeed. It has some logs, some scheduled messages. So we swap tanks every 30 minutes. And we set that up on here to give us a message every 30 minutes to swap tanks on the airplane. Very user-friendly, very intuitive. And the message that we're getting, we're inside the airspace. So it also gives you airspace alerts, how close you are, so on and so forth. And this thing is going to keep giving us messages until we do something to clear them up. So if we go back to map, and again, you can move it around here, you move it around there, come back out, and if you hit the back button after you've been messing with it, it'll bring it back. So I'm going to unsuspend that. The nice thing is when you get close to your destination airport, even if you've got an approach loaded, you're going to get a little airplane symbol here with a descent path, and it's going to say visual for whatever runway you want. So even though you've got the approach loaded, if it's visual conditions, if you tap on that visual approach, you will now have vertical and lateral guidance through your CDI over here on a visual approach, which is nice, especially if you don't have a VASI or a PAPI or an unfamiliar airport, you don't know terrain, etc. This will actually kind of help you, obviously stay out of trouble, but even though it's still on you to clearly avoid obstacles and terrain, it's a nice little backup. It's pretty handy. So we've really been using this and we've really enjoyed it. The cost of this was about $5,000 for the unit. It takes an SD card that needs to be updated every 30 days. The base subscription is about $299, and the installation for the whole unit with everything, I'm going to say was probably right around $8,000 start to finish, including the indicator, the GPS antenna, the installation, the unit itself, minus the subscription for the updates. Well worth the money. This version does not have the comm in it. We use our old comms still. It was an extra $3,000 for the comm, and we didn't find a need for that just yet.